Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over the market and let's go over Tesla. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is down below for $2.99. Essentially, you get updates, or you get my posts that I share to my members pretty much every single day. Updates on the charts, updates on what I'm personally thinking macro-wise and just overall setups and things like that. If you're interested, the link is down below, of course. But let's just jump right into it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Tesla closing the day up about 1.3%, putting us at just about $245 per share, which compared to the market, a pretty respectable outperformance for the most part. SPY actually ending red, surprisingly, with QQQ not up barely at all, really. So, kind of a disappointing day. In all honesty, QQQ is still hanging on by a thread over here, like I talked about yesterday. But it's looking like it wants to reverse, honestly. It's looking like it wants to get a bit of a bounce going, right? It's still hanging on to 50-day moving average, and it's still hanging on to the bottom of this channel, which, of course, if that bounces, that's obviously going to be overall, in theory, good for Tesla. Now, moving back to Tesla, however, itself, right? So we have a bit of an interesting situation here, right? We have almost an inside day, but it's unfortunately not. But we do have another doji candle. This is kind of the opposite of this one, but nonetheless, another doji candle, which to me also signifies the potential sign of a reversal yet to come. And I'll share with you guys another perspective on the 65-minute chart very soon that I think kind of validates that even more so. But in terms of just, I'll give you guys my overall kind of rough idea as to what I expect to happen for the rest of the month. I personally believe from here, maybe we'll go a little bit lower. Like I think maybe like the gap fill. I actually don't think we'll go much lower than that yet. But either from here or maybe a little bit lower, maybe a bit of more of a bear trap after PPI tomorrow, for instance, right? Maybe trigger some stop losses. The market loves to do that, by the way. It loves to get under these stop losses, right? Because I'm sure a lot of people have stop losses. Like I think I said this yesterday's video at like 239, 239 and a half, maybe 238 and a half, somewhere like in that kind of rough range. I'm sure there's a lot of stop losses. You can check some. I forgot exactly where, but you can double check that for sure. But nonetheless, the market loves triggering those and then just picking up the shares and then rallying back up. And then people just FOMO back in, right? I've seen that happen many, many times. That doesn't happen like ridiculously often, but when it does happen, it happens. It's pretty rude. Let's just say that, right? But nonetheless, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen, right? On top of that, if you go to the 65-minute chart, this is where I want to share that potentially, bullish perspective for Tesla. We have a bit of a descending wedge here, right? A falling wedge, descending wedge, whatever, right? Which is a good sign, right? This is a bullish pattern, right? This pattern usually plays out in the bullish end, right? You kind of zigzag through it. You kind of, go like this, kind of ping pong in between the, as you kind of get tighter and tighter, right? As you can see, we're kind of getting tighter and tighter, right? And then from there, usually it breaks up to the north side like that. Right? So that's usually what happens, right? And this would also coincide pretty well with the potential cup and handle pattern that I talked about, right? This is, of course, the first part of the cup right here, the 240 back here. Beautiful looking cup, by the way. This is like a very kind of textbook inverted cup and handle pattern right here. Looking, man, it really just looks almost textbook, right? But nonetheless, pretty nice looking inverted cup and handle. We came back to the exact same level, which sets up the second base of it, right? And now, of course, assuming like it all just makes sense, right? It's just everything just seems to line up. Maybe the fact that it lines up so well and makes so much sense, maybe because of that it won't happen, but just strictly from like not theorizing like weird situations, but just strictly off of what it looks like. August, like I said, beautiful month. Well, not beautiful month, but pretty good month for Tesla, right? Overall, more positive than negative for Tesla, right? Higher chance to be green than red for Tesla, right? Especially compared to like September coming up, which we'll talk about soon. But, we have an overall, pretty overall bullish month for Tesla, right? We have a potential beautiful cup and handle inverted, of course, which is bearish, setting up, which now, of course, if we bounce from here, we'll get that handle pattern, the formation, if you will, setting up for it as well, which we talked about many times. And so how high you can go. Again, quite simple, Fibonacci, swing low, swing high to the swing low, and I'm personally eyeballing anywhere between pretty much 263 all the way up to almost even 280. Like I think best case scenario is like just shy of 280. I think that's kind of pushing it. I think I'll get a little bit greedy. I think a reasonable place to expect Tesla potentially bounce from here is like 270, high 260s, maybe low 270s, somewhere around there. I would think is a very reasonable and not super greedy area to expect Tesla to bounce to, assuming of course it bounces northwards from this pattern right here, this descending wedge, which again will set up the cup and handle, right? So you have that, it all kind of lines up. And of course with this descending wedge, which just makes sense, right? It's a bullish pattern, usually puts us to the top side, and it just kind of coincides with the formation of the handle here for the cup, with August of course being a net bullish month for Tesla. It just all makes sense. But the thing that makes even more sense is the fact that, again, assuming this plays out, assuming this descending wedge plays out, we go up to, let's say 268 or whatever, right? Somewhere around 270, we'll say. We set up the handle pretty much towards the end of August, which all makes sense. It's also relative to seasonality. Then we have September, probably the worst month of the year for the market in general. Right, which then of course Tesla falls out of that handle, maybe like come early September, late August, or like even maybe mid-September, but just somewhere around that time frame. And then we start the fall, which plays into September being just an overall extremely weak month for the market, and it all just kind of makes sense, and it all feels like the path is just like laid out for us, and we just have to follow it now, right? My only concern is that it seems a little too obvious. Usually when the market's like too obvious, I start getting a little bit I start questioning it a little bit, but for now, it's the best case though. It's the best, I guess, guess, if you will, educated guess that we have. And that's kind of what I'll play with until something tells me otherwise, right? But again, the most important levels to pay attention to, essentially breaking below 240 to 242 to 240, and of course, breaking above 250 to 252, right? For a move to the downside and to the upside, respectively. But again, like I said, especially with PPI, don't be surprised if we come down one more time to the bottom of this wedge, which will take us somewhere to like maybe even 238-ish. Right? Don't be surprised if that happens. We get a bit of a rally, bit of a bear trap, get some stop losses triggered, and then from there we bounce up, rally, break out, and then make our way up for the rest of August, right? That truly would not surprise me. That's kind of what I'm expecting. Now, to even further validate this, right? As we zoom in a little bit here, you can see as Tesla is, of course, again, on a 65-minute chart, it's not like a huge time frame, right? These time frames, to me, only show patterns and situations that can play out for the next maybe week, maybe two, like max 3 to a month, like max a month, I would say, right? Which kind of makes sense with what I'm talking about right now for the rest of August. We still have about 3 weeks left for August, right? But we also have a bit of a bullish divergence setting up here on the RSI. As you can see, as Tesla is kind of making its way still technically down and making lower lows, we're actually making higher lows on the bullish divergence on the RSI on the 65-minute chart, or essentially the 1-hour chart. So that's a good sign as well. So it's a lot of signs to me are pointing right now that the play is simply as follows. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Then we go over here, right? So simply, again, one of the two happened. But anyway, from this point, whether it's literally from here and we go up or here, or we do that stop loss trigger like I talked about, maybe 240, maybe 238. But the point is, generally from this kind of rough area, I think we'll rally somewhere up here. I think we'll potentially consolidate. This will also form the handle for the cup. And then I think from there, we'll fall. And I think September is going to be a pretty brutal month. I think we'll come down to probably somewhere around the 220s. And I think from there, we'll overall base probably go sideways for a while, maybe even go to 210s, right? That's also a possibility. Keep that in mind. Right? Could go as low as 210s even, like somewhere around here. The point is, I think it'll be like this. And then I think from there, we'll get a beautiful rally and break 300. Come, maybe late October, November, something around that is what I personally expect, right? But this is overall the trajectory I personally foresee happening for now at least, until something of course changes that, I'll let you guys know if I see something different. But as of right now, that's what I personally expect. And the MACD on the 65-minute chart is starting to flip a little bit bullish, which is good to see, right? It's nothing super obvious just yet, but it's looking like it wants to get a bit of a rally. So that's also good to see. So, take that into consideration, ladies and gentlemen. But with that being said, you can't just be completely bullish here, because as I'm definitely more bullish here than I was like all the way like up here, for instance, like 280, right? Absolutely. But with that being said, you also don't want to get overboard, right? I'm not completely all in cash. I even have some sold calls still. I did buy back some of the calls, but I still have some of I have about half of my sold calls still, and I bought back the other half. If we get the rally, I'll resell them. And I also bought shares today, so that if we do get the rally, I'm going to just strictly trade those shares, not going to sell calls against them. That's just going to be a strict shares trade. I have a sold put. So I'm like all over the place. I have sold calls. I have open shares ready to sell more calls. I have shares ready to trade to the upside. I have a sold put. So I'm like bearish and bullish. I have a little bit of everything, right? Which is the way I like to personally play it. And I still have cash as well. If we fall down to, let's say, that gap fill or like that, little bear trap like I talked about, I will also buy that dip, because I do think we will rally. But with that being said, I still think the daily doesn't look great. The 65-minute chart, again, it looks pretty good, which tells me that the next couple of weeks could be bullish. But the overall trend on the daily, which is a bit more longer term, which is coming into September, a bit of October, still looks bearish to me, right? We still have an overall net bearish divergence on the RSI and the daily. Still not looking great. It still doesn't look resolved. It still looks not amazing. Let's just say that. That doesn't mean we can't have bounces in between, especially short-term bounces like I just talked about. But the overall trend to me is still down. So I personally believe, like we talked, or that I kind of mentioned, but we go from here, get a bit of a rally to about 270, and then we make our way down one more time, right? This is kind of what I expect the overall move to happen, right, moving forward. And then from there, I think we'll base somewhere around this level here-ish, give or take, and I think we'll make our way up higher after that. Right. But, but with that being said, right, we still have, even on the upside move, we still have the 21 EMA not too far above us, pretty much at 260. 50-day moving average is still sitting at almost 260. So you still want to pay attention to those things, right? Those are still important signs. You don't want to completely ignore them. So take that for what it's worth, because even if we do get that rally from the 65-minute chart, like I talked about, and we do push upwards, we still have some decent resistance above us that we do have to break. I don't think it's impossible, but it will take some work. So we'll have to see and play it as it goes. The other option, of course, is that this all falls apart. PPI comes in, maybe it's horrible. Maybe we just completely and utterly collapse below like 237. If we fall below 237, and especially below this gap fill, that's going to be pretty bad. And I honestly think even if we fall down to this gap fill, that's not amazing. I think we'll just gap fill, probably come back up, probably come up to like 240s, like the low 240s that we're obviously finding a lot of support in, but then most likely turn into resistance and probably make our way lower, right? That's always a possibility. I want to make that very clear. Even though I think that we will get a rally, it's always a possibility that if we just come straight down, let's say tomorrow, because PPI is bad, again, gap fill, come back up. Now this turns into a resistance because now it's a support, right? And then we just continue making our way lower to that 220, maybe even to like tens or whatever, right? That kind of general area. And then maybe September ends up being quite a flip month. And this is that one, rare opportunity or rare time where September is actually a bullish month, because obviously if September was permanently bearish and it was always red, this wouldn't be sitting at 33%, right? This would be sitting at essentially like 5% green and 95%, red, right? Because this percentage tells you the percentage of it being green. Keep that in mind, right? But all that being said, that's kind of what I am seeing right now. This is the main pattern, in my opinion, to look out for. And of course, 250 and about 240 to look out for as well. But be careful of a potential bear trap tomorrow. So with that being said, that's kind of what I am seeing right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. But thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in charting using this as well, the link is down below for a Trend Spider. It's a phenomenal charting platform. Actually, I really like it. I actually like it quite a bit. You have a lot of cool aspects like this. We can take a look at options very quickly. Actually, let's take a look at options. We haven't taken a look at this in a while. Let's go ahead and increase the premium to we'll do about 65K right here. And you can see definitely some bearish prints coming out over here. A lot of bearishness here on the 215 puts coming out for November 17th of 2023. So that's not, that's not good to see, but we have more shorter term calls coming out here for October 23rd. So keep that in mind. And then even more shorter term, you can see over here, kind of a mix between, what's it called? Bullishness and bearishness, right? Slightly more bullishness than bearishness, but not by a whole lot. This is kind of what I expect to see. And this is probably going to be people playing for that, bearish September, potentially October months as well. But all that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.